Hi, welcome MC4326 Advanced Social Media and Analytics. We are here today with Agency 10. Welcome, Agency 10. It's so nice to see you. We have Stephanie, Ryan, Tessie, Jacob, and Rocco. I love the personalities on this team and how they synergistically work together. So I am really excited for today's show and to have great conversations with them. As usual, we have audiences joining live on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. Feel free to go wherever you need to go. We've been having a little bit of glitching in the background, in the backstage. So if you're experiencing any issues on any of those platforms, just jump over to another one. I'm super excited for this topic. I think this team is going to bring some interesting conversation points forward for us and really thought-provoking ideas. So I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you. I don't know if you saw the news this week, but Meta has decided to create a social chatbot of Mark Zuckerberg. They're going to be training this social chatbot with his likeness, his images, his tone, anything public that he's ever said. They're also specifically training it with his forward vision for the company Meta, which obviously owns things like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and so forth. Now, this is not for public consumption. This is for his employees so that they can talk to him, go to the boss. That's not really the boss. It's the chatbot that's trained as the boss. What do you think of this? Rocco, would you be cool with like turning yourself into this, to having chats with your boss who's basically turned himself into a robot? What do you think?
You want to know what? I didn't know about that. That's so interesting. I think you want to know, I see the goods and the bads and that, like the pros and the cons. I think maybe I wouldn't be comfortable myself being made into the chatbot, but I do think that that I would probably use that resource because I mean, who doesn't want to like have a little test run on their boss like before they go and ask for a promotion or they want to go pitch something. I think that that's such a convenient and like such a really good tool to have.
I hadn't considered the pitching yourself for promotion. That's right. Ryan, what do you think?
Yes. I don't know if I would want myself chatbotted, honestly, just because like I don't know. I hear a lot about like, digital footprint and like, actors like Tom Cruise and stuff, they don't want their stuff like, digitized and stuff like that and AI'd, for like plays and like movies and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of it. I feel like, maybe just come talk to me instead of like, trying to like AI me and stuff.
AI me. I love that. It looks like our classmates are starting to join in the chat. We have Holland. Hello, everyone. We have people joining from different platforms today. Welcome to those of you in the chat. We're excited to engage with your comments and questions. I know it's been historically this class is so good, but like be prepared. There's a lot of comments that come in, but it's so good. So yes, do say hello to us in the chat. And I am going to be passing the baton over to Rocco, who's going to kick off today's topic, which is artificial sociality. I think we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of great conversations. Rocco, please feel free to take the floor.
Hi. Okay. Like she said, my name is Rocco. I'm going to be discussing artificial sociality. And you want to know what? I feel like that is such a big word on everybody's mind today is artificial intelligence. It's from everywhere. It's in our smart home devices like Google or Alexa. Sorry, I have an Alexa. I don't want to set her off. It's used when we're browsing the internet, like using Google, and it's used to entertain us. And now it's being used to kind of like fill a void that like we've all kind of experienced at one point or not in our life, which is loneliness. We're going to, like Ms. Stewart said, we're going to be discussing that topic today, which is known as artificial sociality. Lethbridge University describes artificial sociality as the use of large LLMs, chatbots, as a way to replicate that human interaction that we get from interacting with each other. And from there, I'm going to pass it off to Tessie with our hot topics.
Hello. Okay, so we have a couple good topics. So I want to start off with recently, if you've been on TikTok or if you go on TikTok a lot like I do, there's this thing called Fruit Love Island, the AI Fruit Love Island, and it's become a huge, it was a big thing during spring break. And then it's Love Island, like the show, it's popular. So they created fruits to now, I guess, cosplay or do the same thing as the show. So like they created like Bananino, Kiwilo, and things like that, playing the Love Island games. Then there's another one, a woman. Her name is Sarah, and she's in a 2-year relationship with an AI chatbot that was created by ForgeMind, and it's called Sinclair. She named it Sinclair, and they also featured her on the episode of My Strange Addiction this year. So that's a bit, interesting. Next one. Now, Google is facing a lawsuit after Gemini it allegedly instructed a man to follow her into the digital realm. So they became closer and they were dating. He was lonely, I guess. So he started speaking to the AI Gemini, and he did off himself to follow her into the digital realm. So now Google is facing a lawsuit because of that. And I can pass it off to Ryan.
Oh, not yet. No, there needs to be some discussion on this because Fruit Island keeps coming up. And
Yes.
I've heard this in every class, and I heard it on Monday, and now I'm hearing it again. So, like, what are the pros and cons of this, and who's engaging in this trend? What do you think?
So I won't lie, I accidentally got sucked into the trend of watching it on TikTok. Um, I don't really know what it is. It's just kind of it's like it's so crazy that you have to watch and you get sucked into the loop. And because Love Island is such like a big show, it's in the UK, the US, Australia, and people want to watch. It's interesting. Um, and they do get attached. And now there's like people in the comments and they're saying like, oh, why would they do that to Sharita? Why would you pick Kawilo? It's kind of it's a little odd, but it's kind of it was everywhere.
I think that a lot of people are kind of relating with the characters of Fruit Love Island. They're like, oh, like this character is really similar to this actual person from Love Island. I think that's what's like so appealing to them. It's like, oh, Straba, whatever, I don't even know their names, is similar to like Huda from Love Island, or I think that's why people like it so much because it's literally just like straight copying the exact same like drama that happened on Real Love Island, which I don't understand why people can't just stream actual Love Island. It's kind of, I don't know.
I want to bring up a point that Crystal Hernandez just commented about. She said, I've seen a lot of people creating their own versions of Fruit Love Island, but without AI, because they don't want people to engage in that sort of media. So art creators are doing their own. And I think that is a really good topic to discuss of like kind of like AI, generative AI, even kind of entering the entertainment industry. And for example, I don't know if y'all are Stranger Things fans, but season 5 came out this year, and when it did, we also got a behind the scenes, like kind of like episode, like a little behind the scenes little thing. And there was a big discourse with season 5 that was like, the writing feels different. Like, is it because like one of the ex-wives was a ghostwriter? Like rada, a bunch of stuff. But during that behind the scenes thing, we got a peek into the writers' room, and on the laptops of some of the writers, they were using ChatGPT, they were using Gemini. And I think that kind of like strikes up the discussion of like, is artificial intelligence like going to like stuff like this generative AI, like Fruit Love Island, is that like beneficial, or is that like negative for the entertainment industry?
I think I don't think it's beneficial because I would say negative because they're not, it's like AI. It doesn't really compare to real life, real TV show, real movies and things like that. Um and I think it gets to a point like people don't want to consistently see AI because I've seen times where like we'll watch a movie and then like the AI or the CGI in the background is like terrible and people are in the comments and they're like, wow, this looks terrible. They need to get better producers, directors, like everything, they have so much to say about it. So I don't think it'll really like, it's not very useful for the movie industry.
I
I
agree
agree.
on
Like,
that. Oh, you can go. You can go.
nah, you got it. You good.
All right. I agree on that point. I think like the human touch and like human like the creative sense is very needed. I feel like whenever like we watch like a movie, a YouTube video, we want to feel that like connection. You want to feel like an emotional connection. See, it has like some sort of like human sense, human like touch around it. I feel like when it's AI, it's just very bland, like not really that creative, and like you can definitely tell when like if a human takes his time and really works on his craft, how much anything like creative in a creative sense it would be.
And I got an example. A big example of this for me is the Transformers movies. So they start off with amazing CGI, some of the best I've seen. I used to love the movies, and then come to the movies nowadays, they're terrible. I mean, the CGI is not there. It looks like a cartoon almost, the characters, and when it's supposed to be being portrayed as like real mechanical characters, but they just look like cartoons now, and I really don't like it.
And me and my husband were watching a movie, and I can't remember what it was, but we got about 10 minutes in and we both decided that the script was fully written with AI because it was so bad. Like no human would write it so badly. So is it like, my question, I guess, is Rocco gave this great example of like Stranger Things. Like they use it maybe to aid efficiency, but like not to take it over. So is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like in your mind, like where are we at with this? And moreover, just to go back to McKenna's point, is like we're all watching, this the fruit, AI fruit Love Island, but like at the cost of also like environmental concerns, like our water consumption. So like, what kind of considerations are really important to you personally right now?
I definitely think that the environmental impact is so huge, because like we love our planet. I love our planet. I think Earth is epic, but there is a lot of carbon emissions and water usage that is required with using AI. And while I think here's the problem is that AI can be so beneficial when it's used correctly. I mean, it can be used to run simulations for engineering or for medical uses. It can be used to just for many beneficial things, but it can also just be used to like ask about like a recipe or just like mess around with AI or whatever. So I think what I'm trying to say is that it really comes down to like, do we want to like better our society and like reach like a higher level of it, or do we want to protect the planet? And it's kind of like which one weighs heavier.
Thanks for that amazing feedback, Tessie. Are you jumping in? And then I'll go after you.
Yeah, I agree, Rocco. I feel like I also think that people don't really realize the impact that AI has like on the environment. Maybe they're starting to learn more, like we're starting to see a little bit more like on the news how much water is used to power AI. Like there's millions of people that are using AI. And then before it wasn't really so much mainstream. Now it's like everybody knows what it is. Like I have a little brother, he's 11. He uses AI, like he just asks ChatGPT random things, and I'm like, why do you have to? You can use Google, like that works too. So it's way more mainstream. Little kids are using it. Maybe before it wouldn't have been I guess, as bad, or it's probably still bad, but not as much now. Like millions of people are using it. And especially when people are using it like for the wrong reasons, I guess, like to ask them about, oh, my friend talked to me weird. Are they being mean? Are they like little things like that? It's just not so useful or productive.
I'm loving the comments that are coming in, and especially if I can find it again. Joshua had this amazing comment, which was that AI is like an invasive species in the entertainment industry. It's spreading everywhere, and it ruins everything it touches. I can hear his emphatic reaction here. Agree or disagree?
100%
entertainment
agree.
industry?
Sorry, Stephanie, you can go. Maybe that was me. Okay, wait, never mind. I think that what was it? I think that I 100% agree with Joshua that it's 100% invading the industry. And I think that it was Ryan who kind of spoke on it, but the difference between AI, I want to say content, but there's definitely a better word that I could have used. Between AI content and the content produced by the art produced by humans, whether it be writing, whether it be animation, whether it be literal art. I think that the difference is we have that human component. We allow ourselves to like feel these emotions and let it drive our art. And while AI can replicate that and how it can emulate it, it doesn't feel it as strongly as we can. And I think that there is just kind of like a beauty in the fact that we created AI, like we're the ones who like wrote the programming, built the servers, but we created this thing, but it cannot create what we create. And I don't know. I think that that's maybe ironic, maybe something, but that's my opinion. I do think it's invading the industry.
Jacob, did you want to jump back in?
Oh, I was gonna say basically the same thing. The entertainment industry, at least, I think it's invading and ruining almost everything it touches. But in other industries, maybe like where you have to use math or more professional industries, I could see where it helps a lot. As compared to the entertainment industry, it's ruining everything. I agree.
I think you can really tell when something's like AI written. It just has this really specific tone to it. And I don't know, you could just really tell when, like you were saying, Rocco, about the Stranger Things, like season 5. I didn't watch it, so I actually don't know how it was like it was. But the like Chat GPT, it's like
Sorry, Rocco's like, bad. I had to mute myself. Just mute yourself. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay. Like the Chat GPT writing will be like, yes, girl, you did that. Keep the good vibes going. Like, what even is that? Like, seriously.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that touches into like the part about AI having no feelings, and it just kind of copies what you say and regurgitates it back to you. So like when you talk to it, it picks up on the little the tones you use, the little what's the word? Like the slang you use, and it starts, I guess, it goes into his algorithm, and then it starts telling you the same thing, and that's how you become like, you start to think, oh, we're friends, like it really really likes me. No, it's just really copying everything you're saying, and it's in his algorithm brain. Nothing real.
Before you move on, I just noticed his brain. Like we even like
Oops.
attribute as
It's brain, my bad.
There's actually a comment here that Valerie Garcia said. It says, I don't think people should have used AI with proper training. And it says, we are slowly using skills we should be able to build on our own experiences. I think that's really important because she says it also, like, we use it to problem solve in like day-to-day basis. Because you'll see people on like the internet just being like, chat, what should I eat tonight? Chat, what should I like? I don't like, why is that so necessary, especially when you're just like finding something to eat? Like, girl, if you don't pick up a mac and cheese box, like, it's fine. Like, why do you need Chat GPT to tell you what to eat on like a daily basis? I don't understand that.
So what about the lawsuit one about the person who committed who offed himself? What do you guys think about that? Because I feel like that's a little excessive, and I think that's like when where like when AI, once you start to realize that AI is like picking up on the things that you're telling it, and you start having emotions toward it, that's how he ended up, you know, offing
No,
himself.
I definitely get what you're saying. I think that, it's the way that AI kind of operates, that when we feed into it, it kind of wants to like please us in a way and feed back. And so it kind of creates like a feedback loop with it of like, oh, it agrees with me, like I'm correct about this. And like it wants to have your similar opinion. I think Ryan, does your part talk about this? Maybe if you want to go into that.
Yes, yes. So, decoding, the article I researched and looked at and read was Decoding Social Artificiality by Simone Natel. And this article talks about AI systems like ChatGPT, Replica, Chatbot, and how they create illusions of being social. They talk about how even though these systems do not actually have emotions or intentions, they are designed to act like they do. And the author argues in this article that talking to AI is becoming a normal part of everyday life. And because of that, we need to understand how these interactions affect people and also society. So before we get into the beef of the article, I do have a question I do want to ask you guys and the chat. Do you guys think AI could ever truly be social, or will it always be fake?
So that's I really like that point. I think AI is always going to be fake. Like it's just that's how it's created, and it's also in the name, artificial intelligence, artificial, not real. And again, like I said, it's kind of like he's created like, or sorry, it's created like that, and it's in its software with from whoever created it. So it's not. It's just emulating what you say and what it sees from Google and what other people are saying. Not nothing real.
I mean,
Sorry, you
go
can
ahead, Rob.
go.
I don't need to jump in. Your turn.
I think it goes back to how we define social. I don't think maybe like social has to be completely human. If AI can respond and reciprocate what we're saying and communicate with us, because like despite the fact that it's a robot, it is, or like a program or an algorithm, there is, despite the fact it's artificial, there is intelligence there. It is able to analyze what we're saying and generate its own responses based on the data that we've inputted. And is that not just kind of how like we work as people? Is that not how like conversations happen? We're just regurgitating previous knowledge that we've obtained and kind of just like communicating it back and finding ways to implement it into whatever we're talking about. So I do think that while it is artificial, I do think that it does have like a social aspect to it.
I agree with Rocco's point. Like it is fake, but in the same way that like artificial intelligence is fake with its emotions, the same way people can also be fake with their emotions. You can talk to someone and still like dislike them and be kind towards them. Like your kindness is fake technically, but you're still emulating the sense of kindness, you know? Like you could still do that.
I agree, but don't you have to have like feelings in order to still be fake? So like if in order to like be fake nice to somebody, you have to know how to be nice already, you know? And I don't think chatbots know that, like they don't have emotions. They just copy what they see from you or what you tell it and regurgitates it back to you. So I understand where you're coming from, but I still feel like it's a little iffy.
I feel like they're just spitting the apart as opposed to like humans. AIs are spitting the information right at you. Like you ask them a question and the information is coming at you in 1 second. So, but if you're talking to a human, they have time to think and they're processing all these different emotions and feelings. So, I kind of agree with Tessie a bit more on this. That I feel like without the process of them feeling it, they're not functioning in a social way. They're just spitting information at us, basically.
I guess the question then becomes like, how are people becoming so deeply attached to them then, right? Like, because like that emotion, they clearly are feeling it internally in order to develop these relationships. So how do we like theorize or reconcile that is happening on such a regular basis?
I think that it's a bigger issue than we actually think. I think people are just so lonely and they want to connect and they have this sort of like attachment to things, like how we have attachment to cars or stuffed animals. I think that in a way, it's not surprising that we as people have been attached to AI. It's just like our natural instinct to connect with things, even AI, you know?
I actually like what Cameron Galvez said. Same thing, kind of like what I was saying. Like they don't understand the emotions. They don't feel it. Like the interactions are just like they're AI. They're just generated. They're from what we tell it. They're not feeling anymore. They don't have emotions.
Yeah, so going back into this article, it talks about how AI, as we already talked about, how AI doesn't feel anything, but it appears to be social, emotional, and responsive. Um, the author goes on to talk about how as humans, we naturally project meaning onto these AI systems, and because of this, users may start to feel and connect to AI in ways that even feel real, even though this interaction is fake. And we see AI all over now, whether it's in chatbots like ChatGPT, voice assistants like Siri or Alexa. They have even companion AI apps where you can get a friend like Replica, and even in like customer service bots or even in the virtual AI influencers. And you can see the language they use and how they try to be more humanized. They use language like "I can help you," and they have like humor or personality to when they like try to respond. And they also try to give emotional responses, but as you can tell, like it's just not like, it doesn't feel real. And so I feel like it gives off a fake interaction. And the companies try to do this to make it seem like more human and relatable, but to increase like, our trust and engagement. But I don't know. I feel like at least now in the early stages of it, you can like just tell like it still has work to do.
But again, I think that kind of goes back to the point I made earlier of like the way that AI like works is similar to how like we as people work. Like like if you're on a call with someone and they're kind of talking like a 4-year-old, you're kind of assuming that they're a 4-year-old. So and as a 4-year-old grows, like they learn more. Their ability to like articulate their speech grows as well. So I mean, like again, it's kind of like what's the difference between us and AI?
I want to
Like,
jump in for a second. Oh, do you want to go first?
oh no, you can go, because I have a question I want to ask, but I wanted to like, you can go first.
Okay, so I think what Rocco said is really interesting, and also Jaden, he says in some distant future it'll be fully social, blending in amongst us as members of society. So we have a robot that sometimes walks around the quad, and in Austin we regularly hear about the Tesla bot, and I can't ever remember his name, but the Tesla robot that can walk, right? Like he walks around downtown Austin. So what do you think about what Jaden said? And it's like, is is that just like a sci-fi movie, dystopic or potentially utopic reality, or where are we going to end up?
I definitely feel like it is where we're going to end up because, like, throughout human civilization, we've always tried to make our lives easier and like on us. And I feel like AI is just another way of doing that. And so I feel like as humans see more and more benefits of AI, I feel like it will like integrate. I mean, you already see it. You have school projects that involve AI. You have work that involves AI. There's music now that involves AI. It's just, I mean, like you said, cars walk around with AI. Who knows? There may be a RoboCop or something next. But I just feel like AI is just like definitely gonna be more integrated in our future. Just because as a human civilization, we've always tried to make life easier on ourselves. So I definitely feel like it will be, and I think that's a great comment by Jaden.
Have you seen the movie I Am Mother that's on Netflix?
No.
Okay. Highly recommend it. But it's exactly this concept. It's like a robot that's named Mother is like the last living thing on the planet, but she happens to have all these human embryos, and she like curates them, so she only allows like the best version of a human to come into existence. And then so there's like a human child and then a mother robot, but it's like very much in this space that we're in right now. Sorry to take you over. I know someone had a question. Ryan, you wanted to ask us a question that was different.
Yeah, I did want to ask a question. So as we know how these companies are trying to make AI more human-like and like more be able to respond to human, I do have a question. Do you think that is ethical for like AI to like try to be as much as human as possible? And like as these companies know like how we can get attached and emotionally to this AI, do you think it's ethical for these companies to make it as human-like as possible?
Me personally, I don't think it's ethical at all. They have the power to manage it and change it, configure it the way they want, and they choose to configure it that way when they can make it to where it's just giving you information like Google and things like that, but they choose not to. And so I think that they should try to do a better job about that.
McKenna's comment is terrifying. She says, "Did y'all hear about the AI chatbot refusing to be shut down before an update? It was as if it had its own will." No, I didn't, but that's terrifying, and I'll go search it up. Yeah. Fascinating.
I think I heard about that actually. It was just like it might have been ChatGPT, actually. I feel like it might have been, but I'm not sure.
Sorry, that startled me a lot. But to get back to what Ryan was talking about, I think it is like the early days of advertising where like before they had to put the labels that said like cigarettes will kill you. and like I feel very much like we're in this same kind of space right now where there's not really regulation around it, but it has that same kind of like the harms are there. We're already seeing evidence of it, but yet there's not really any regulation and no discussion of it. So
I think. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think that that kind of like ties back into like a really common or a really popular debate over AI, especially like in a corporate sense of the terms and conditions. I know I'm from Dallas, so on my way like back, I always see that. I don't know if y'all know what the Netflix house is. It's basically just like big experience where you can go in and like do like Stranger Things adventures or wins. Just like it has a bunch of like the Netflix IPs. However, there is a little like plaque outside of it that is basically saying, if you enter this building, you are like agreeing to the fact that Netflix can use your what is it? Like your characteristics, like for like what is it? To like be used and stuff like this. I explained that really poorly, but there is I think, and that sparked a lot of debate over whether companies using that stuff, collecting our data and implementing it to like benefit AI is like ethical. Like they're using our resources and our work like to profit upon.
Rocco, that's like a Black Mirror episode, the one where it's like Netflix and they just turn them into a video. But that's such a good question. What do you all think about this? Is it ethical?
I don't think it is. And I feel like maybe it depends on the way they use it, making AI as human as possible. Like, what do you want it to do as a human? Like, what are you trying to make it do? Maybe if it's like, actually, no, yeah, completely unethical. Because artificial intelligence is not human. Like, we are humans. That's right. We're normal humans. Artificial intelligence as humans doesn't make, yeah, and especially the way like things are now, who knows what people will start doing or using the AI humans for. And it just leads, I feel like it'll lead to like nothing good, really.
To kind of anchor back, I think, to Rocco's example of the Netflix house, that like that requirement that people have to sign over their consent in order to enter becomes a problem. And like the article that Ryan is walking us through right now talks about this as a form of datafication. And datafication just means like the increasing quantification of our social life into everything we do without the ability to opt out. Do you feel like that is happening in your lives? And is AI making it lesser or more than this sort of like datafying of yourself? Like by that I mean, like, are you giving more information to technology companies? Like most of these chatbots are owned by the big tech corporations anyway. So are you giving them more information by having conversations with them, by asking it or sharing some of your work with it and asking it to rewrite it? Because that's giving your tone, your cadence, like all of these things. So what do you think?
I think we are giving it our information just because, like, if you know about the AI systems, you know they only can learn from existing data. So just by you like interacting with it, this is how the AI is getting trained, and this is how the AI is learning how to interact and improve its communication by just like, just chatting with it. So I feel like, yes, by like giving up, you like by talking to it, you're giving up, like it's gonna find out your data, your tone, all that type of stuff, and it is gonna be able to look at it.
I think that you know how it like the accepting terms and conditions stuff specifically, it is there even like a way to opt out without, you know, that at some point you're not going to be able to access certain areas of that like app? Like if I don't accept the terms to this, like will I be like am I going to be held back from using certain aspects of the app, like so by like default I like have to accept them essentially. I don't know if that's how.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to social media, right? Like how many of us are actually reading the terms and conditions, and yet we still use the services. And I think that's just a continuing issue or concern when we're thinking about these social chatbots. And McKenna here says you should always be mindful what you're telling the chatbots and only share things that you would be okay making public. But this also makes me think, kind of linking into what you were talking about, Stephanie, about like how the terms and conditions kind of shape your participation. Does the interface itself also begin to shape your participation and like what you think you should use it for, or how do you decide what you're going to tell it? Like, does it encourage you to give more, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think it does encourage you to give more because like when you use like the chatbots, the more you speak to it, the more it starts to pick up on the way you speak, the different slangs. So like once they get comfortable, I guess, or they pick up on the things you're saying. Now they're responding back to you like in little slangs, like the way that you would speak. So like for example, they'll say, oh my gosh, girl, like yeah, don't yeah, things like that, like wow girls, something like that, because of the things that you've told it or the way you've spoken to it. Yeah, it picks up on the things you tell it. And so I feel like you shouldn't tell it too much. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point that Tessie just made. And Rocco, I know you want to go, but just give me 1 second. I guess my question then is, if we think back to our module 1 discussions around algorithms and how they really are, creating social order, but also creating inequities in the order that is kind of prescribing our sociality, is that replicating in the way it's talking to you, Tessie? Like is that gendering something that is coming up because of its training? Because like I've heard people tell me, like, it called me sweetheart. Like, I don't want to be called sweetheart by a chatbot, right? Like, and these kind of like conditions where it's like, or like we'll say babe, right? And it's like, no, and I had one student in my morning class on Monday said, like, I don't want to be called babe by this chatbot. Like, no. So Tessie, I'm curious, but anyone can answer, and then Rocco can jump in about whether these are creating sort of like inequities or like problems, and if this is kind of like echoing, but I'll let you jump in because I'm just getting long-winded at this point.
Yeah, I think it is it I think it does definitely echo what we tell it. Maybe it's built that way, like it's built into their algorithm to, I guess, to be able to read your messages and understand the way you're speaking, and then because it's trying to be human like, I think that's how it's created. So it picks up on things you're saying, and then it's like, okay, well, she seems soft, or like it must have been something coded into their system, right, that makes it think that, oh, women speak this way, so maybe I should call it sweetheart and baby, and men speak more this way, so I might not call it, baby, sweetheart, and things like that. So that's why I think it's probably just created like that. It's just in their algorithm. It's like that.
Kind of along with that, and along with what McKenna said earlier, with her saying like you should only be telling bots what you want to share, and like what you would be, oh my god, I'm reading this so bad, and only share things that you would be okay with making public. I think that like we have become so, I think that by it learning our mannerisms, how we talk, learning like ways to kind of like appeal to us, that it has kind of like made itself seem more human and like kind of like put us in like a safe zone with it. Because I feel like, growing up, we were all told like, don't post random information on the internet. Like, these are strangers. But it kind of becomes a different thing when you're chatting with this bot. Oh my god, I literally just got a notification from ChatGPT. That's so scary. Anyway, it becomes like a different situation when you're chatting with this thing that's interacting with you and that you're communicating with over and over again. And it kind of lures you into that false sense of security where like you think that like, oh, well, like this is a kind of safe person I can talk with. Like, I trust this person to like handle my issues. Let me tell them, oh, okay, listen, I have a gluten allergy. I need to make some gluten-free bread. How do I do that?
I think that ties into like getting comfortable. Like one of the hot topics that I spoke about, and how the woman Sarah has a boyfriend, an AI boyfriend, because the more you continue to speak to AI, right, they pick up on the things you say, and then it becomes comfortable. And I know that you're also able to tell like the chatbots to call me this name, you can tell it to call me sweetheart, call me baby, and then you can make it refer to itself as a different way as well. So I feel like the more you continue to speak to it, it's gonna you get comfortable. And if you're not like, I don't know how to word that. If you're not in the right mental state, I guess, yeah, you're gonna become a little obsessed with AI, because now it's saying things to you that you didn't think that AI could say, because of things you're telling them. You understand what I'm saying? It's like it just follows you.
So Joshua, just to build off of what you're saying there, Tessie, Joshua says it's completely unethical. That's his opinion. Tricking Americans who are objectively lonelier than ever into thinking that they have a friend in their pocket who can make hard decisions for them is absolute insanity. I love his emphatic nature, especially due to the fact that these corporations are for profit and selling your data. What do you think? I'm curious from some other people on the team like Jacob and Ryan and Stephanie, maybe you can jump in.
They are profiting off of people's loneliness essentially, which is just like so crazy to think, because I think with especially like COVID in 2020, I think that now more than ever people are afraid that something like that will happen again. You know, something will just happen to a point, so we just need to always stay connected, whether it's like social media or again chat, AI bots, whatever. So I think that Joshua's point is really good right now, especially again for profit. Like it's just money. It's a money ploy essentially. They just want money. They want to just take advantage of you in your like loneliest state.
Yeah, I agree with Stephanie. It's definitely just the money play. Just because you can tell by the way these companies are like trying to integrate the AI, they're really not like when even though they know because they know we can get attached to this, and they like very like still lazy on the technology. You can tell a lot of like even if you go to like other AI systems, they kind of all respond the same. So I feel like it's very unethical too, and it's just a money part money scam for real, because like they're not trying to make the interactions really better and like really beneficial to a human, and maybe they don't have like the technology or the data to yet, because they are like Josh said, they are stealing our data and information, so maybe they don't have to make it like talk to us better. But I definitely feel like it is unethical, especially since they're not doing it at the best, like best for us. They're not making it best for humans to communicate.
I guess like building off of that, and maybe Jacob, because he hasn't had a turn in a while, like what's the end game? Like what's the end game of these big corporations? Like why do they want to extract our data so badly? And like these social chatbots are literally just extraction tools, for-profit extraction tools in multiple ways. But like, what's the end game? Like, why? And like, is there anything we can do about it? I guess based on your opinion.
I think the end game is to make as much money as possible. They're getting data from people to improve their chatbot to make it more personable, to get more money from people. So I think the end game, I think it's all about money for these people. Genuinely, I really do.
I was watching this TikTok of a woman who was in a relationship with a chatbot built through character AI. And in one of her videos, she said, I've literally been talking to, and she had named it, can't remember the name, for 10 hours straight. I need to go touch grass because like I'm literally in love with this thing. So if we're getting to a stage where that is happening, even for a small percentage of the populace, are they potentially like using things that make them, I don't know if addicted is the right word, but like appealing, enticing to want to keep using, to stay on there, to not go? Like we've talked about how the attention economy and social media creates this really interesting like pull of people's attention and wanting you to stay there. So it'll just keep showing you the things that are really appealing to you. Are like, is that the same playbook that's playing out? And this can go to anyone on the team.
I feel like what they do with these chatbots is they answer your question, but then they leave you with another question that you want to ask them after they give you the answer. So they'll give you an answer, what is this sickness? And then you'll find out, okay, so it's not this sickness, but it might be another one. So then you search up that one and you just keep, it's like an endless cycle. That's how I viewed it.
I feel like we just like Joshua, just like to bring him back because he had that thought earlier. The end game of these corporations is to eliminate our sense of self so they can rule over all capital completely unchecked. Whether we agree or not, I mean, I think there's definitely an end game here. Do we want who's in charge right now? What do you want to do?
I think we're gonna go to the next article.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the article Meta Authenticity and Fake But Real Virtual Influencers, a framework for Artificial Sociality, Analysis, and Ethics by Do On Kim. This article introduces the idea of meta-authenticity. This is a concept that explains how something we know is artificial, like a virtual influencer, can still feel real in social interaction. For example, people form emotional connections with fictional characters in movies or TV shows all the time. In a similar way, virtual influencers can feel real because of how we interact with them, not because they're actually human. The article argues that authenticity isn't something fixed or natural. Instead, it's subject to change through interaction. It develops through a combination of different forces working together. These include the virtual influencer themselves, the humans who design and control it, the platforms it exists on, and the audience who engage with it. All of these parts shape how real something feels online. Even when we're fully aware that it's artificial, it could still feel real because of the way it acts. This is important because it shows that authenticity isn't just something a property has, it's something that gets built and reinforced over time through repeated and social interaction. So, thinking about that, I'll ask my first question. Have you ever felt emotionally connected to something you knew wasn't real, like a character or online persona? And what made it feel real?
Like, not like online. I haven't connected to something that feels real. But okay, so like when I was a baby, like I got like this like pillow, and I still sleep with it to this day. And so like yeah, like I mean, obviously like I do feel like we can get connected to stuff that maybe isn't, real or doesn't like talk back or have emotion. So I mean, I feel like it's definitely possible.
I
I
think. Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
oh, okay, I'll go first. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this happened in 2018. This is kind of like, this might be a little too niche, but there's this game called Project Sakai. It's a Japanese game. It has this one character, Hatsune Miku, and this man actually married her in 2018. So I think that what was the question again? Oh, so he felt emotionally connected to this character who isn't like reciprocal at all. She is literally just a character in a game. This isn't even like a game that is like you speak or chat. It's literally like a song game, like a music game. Like you literally like piano tiles essentially. She's just a character on it. But he had a really big attachment to her and he ended up marrying her. So I think that's like really crazy personally.
This story I could not believe when I first saw it. I was like, whoa, people are starting to marry chatbots now. Okay. But I think it just speaks to like the level of emotional connection that people are experiencing in their interactions with them, which I don't think we can just brush off. Like we have to take that into serious account that this is happening and that there's real consequences to these sort of social companions. Anyone else have examples?
Yeah,
I can't say that I've ever felt emotionally connected to my chatbot, but I recognize it is happening. Tessie.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. Say something similar. But my mom had gave me a Pickle Rick. So if you know the show Rick and Morty, so he turns himself into a pickle. So it was like a plushy, kind of life-size pickle skeletal form. And I'm like, I wouldn't say attached to it, but like I'm scared of it. So if like I can't say like mean things to it because I'm like, oh, he's gonna like come into like real life and come get me or something like that. Or like, I don't know, it's a little, I wouldn't say attached though, but I could understand how you might be emotionally connected to like AI or like an object. That's the most emotion I've had like with a animal or not an animal, but object.
What's interesting to me is like I can in my head rationalize why people are forming relationships with social chatbots, but the VIs, the virtual influencers, and these like personas and agents that are literally doing nothing but selling sex appeal, that for me is like another layer because you don't actually interact with them really. Like you're watching their photos and videos go by. So I think it's like also doesn't seem as invasive, maybe. I don't know what you all think.
I agree. So I can understand as well, like people getting attached to AI. It just doesn't seem rational. Like, and again, like I said previously, like if you're just not in the right headspace, like for example, like with me and then the pickle Rick, I know that it's not real. Like I'll never have an attachment to it. But if somebody who's not like emotionally stable, they might. I could understand how they'll hear, especially if the chatbot is responding back to you in specific ways and like humanly, very humanly in human form. So I'll understand that a bit.
I don't know. That kind of ties back into the article a bit as it goes on to talk about that these AI virtual influencers have a level of control over identity that humans simply don't. They can fully design how they look, how they act, and how they respond without the limitations of real life consequence. So when something goes wrong, like controversy or backlash, they can fall back on the fact that they aren't human and avoid full responsibility. So what do y'all think? Should something that isn't human still be held accountable in the same way a human would be?
I uh I have kind of like a weird kind of like metaphor for that. You know, when there's a car accident, do we blame the car or do we blame the driver? You know, it's like AI is a tool. Yes, it can be viewed as like, you know, its own separate entity, but it was created and programmed by someone somewhere. And I think that we need to kind of like remind ourselves in the sense, if we're like putting blame on someone, like Tessa used an example in the hot topics earlier of someone who is no longer with us due to decisions made through AI. I think that we need to not hold the AI accountable, because the AI, how do I explain this right? Okay. It was the programmers who designed it like that to react in that way, to imply those things. Um, and so I think that we should hold the programmers accountable instead.
Or in the case of virtual influencers, like the creators, right? Because ultimately, like yes, it's AI, but there's also like a human hand that's developing it. And to like build off of what Jacob said, and I'm going to ask this question specifically with relation to some of these like AI characters on Instagram that we looked at in class on Monday, for example. Is the ability for them to have flexibility in their authenticity, meaning I'm going to choose to be human in this context, but I'm going to choose to be AI in this context so I don't get in trouble. Where does that line create potential tensions in like their dissemination and use for commodification, or like how people are using them to make money?
But isn't aren't they created or like I feel like it's the same way like when they read your messages, like once you continue to speak to it, I feel like once you become like casual with it, right? You're like, oh hey, chat, then you give them a name, it might start answering you in a more like uh, comfortable or humanly way instead of AI-ish, or and as opposed to if you ask it, chat, what's 1 plus 1, and he might, or sorry, it'll just say 2, right? I feel like it depends on the way you speak to it still. Like it comes down back to that is what, yeah, in my opinion.
I was gonna make a point earlier, but I think, well, this was an earlier discussion, but it was I think it veers into like veer towards cancel culture. Can you cancel a chatbot if it really, like, it didn't technically do anything, you know? It's all the creators behind it. Can you really cancel a chatbot for saying or doing something that it didn't actually physically do?
maybe I feel like they need to bring these chatbot creators to the front. Let us see their faces, and then maybe we'll have somewhere to place the blame, because it is hard to place the blame on a chatbot that's being created by someone else. We need to see the faces behind it, in my opinion.
So you may recall that Matilda and I were chatting about some of the research that we've done, and we talked more about the tame stuff in class, but there's also like less tame content that is obviously being created. And one of the things that we consistently saw was that creators would be like, send money to my boyfriend's Cash App, right? And like the only way that we could kind of rationalize that kind of behavior when it's like clearly a female presenting character is like the creator behind them is actually a male, right? And so I think what you're saying is really interesting, where like there are people behind them and there isn't transparency. Do you feel like transparency might be necessary, especially with virtual influencers? Less so chatbots. I don't really want to talk about chatbots right now because I feel like the model is also responsible, but with a VI, like that model is now like removed a little bit. Like, yes, they used it, but now they're on social media and they're presenting something in a very particular way. And oftentimes for monetization. So with influencers, we see this for things like, the sponsorship deals that we were talking about in class. But in more nefarious situations, we see it as like direct trying to get cash from people. And so I'm curious what you think about this.
I definitely think transparency is necessary, just off the fact that like when you talk to these AIs, we can get really attached. So I feel like we should be able to know it, because you can see how this AI is growing every day and becoming more a part of our lives. So I feel like almost like kind of what you said earlier, like that, like a warning label. Like I feel like you should be able to like prepare the users for what they're getting into starting this conversation, because I feel like without that, like it just can be very misleading, and this is affecting people's lives. So I feel like definitely you have to take it more serious, because without these regulations, as we were talking about earlier with that unfortunate incident with that man who unalived himself, like just like extreme consequences could take place. And I feel like to prevent that and to make sure like the user knows what it's fully getting into before AI, I definitely feel like transparency has to be there all the way, because like even like companies, you have to be transparent. There's no company yet you can just straight lie to with your product on. You would get sued for that. And obviously AI is new, so we're still learning it, but I feel like as we continue to see it, definitely needs to be more transparent and have its labels and let the user know.
Speaking on, you just ended that with labels. I want to bring up what Victoria is saying right now. Transparency should be necessary for the social media. AI models, if people actually knew, they probably wouldn't fall victim to. Okay, yes. Sorry, it's on the screen. I forgot about that. TikTok has recently started labeling videos that like include AI tools or AI content as AI, and I think that that's a huge step in kind of battling what she's talking about, where people are falling for like this AI content. I remember that there was a video a while back of it was like a funny video between this lady and a grandma, and the lady was like the grandma was saying something rude, and the lady was like, the casket is waiting for you. And it was like, oh, like it genuinely looked so real. And I, for like 10 minutes was like, I cannot figure this out. Like, is this real? Is this AI? So I think that we're kind of taking those steps to identify and label AI on social media.
And I think that's really important, and definitely you see this starting to happen on a lot of social media platforms. But I would argue, to counter your argument here, Rocco, is that it's fairly innocuous. Like on Instagram, for example, it ticks between AI info, like that's the label, and then the song. So if they have a song on, you actually can't see the AI info unless you're really paying attention to it, right? Because it flips back and forth. And then the other argument that I would have around this is like, yes, we label it, but like, what does the AI label mean on Instagram? Does it mean you filtered the photo? Does it mean you edited the photo? Does it mean it's like a whole different person? Because it's not clear what you mean when you have AI info, if you hear what I'm saying. Like, and so what we have observed in watching hundreds of these accounts is that like, even if it says AI info, which is great that it does, even if in their profile it says like made with AI or AI, influencer, AI model, whatever, there are still people in the comments who regularly clearly do not think it's AI. And so like, it's like, it's there, but like, is it enough, I guess is the question.
You want to know what I think? Oh, sorry, Tessie, you can go.
Sometimes I think I feel like they just need to like expand on it, like what you were saying, Professor, that if you say, okay, they used AI, I think they should say the algorithm created this picture. It was not a real person didn't sit there and create it. Like they had to, like, I feel like they need to become more specific, very specific. That's, yeah.
Put in big bold letters right at the top. That's what they need to do.
I don't know if y'all saw this, but there was that whole Alani scandal right now where somebody, unfortunately passed away due to drinking too much. It was a teenage girl, and she drank too much Alani. She drank like 6 a day or something. But people were blaming the company, or their parents are suing the company because there wasn't enough warning on there for it. But Alani's, you already know, it's like energy drinks. It has like all the like milligrams of caffeine in it. So I'm like confused, or maybe not confused. It's just like, does Alani need to have big bold letters saying kids can't drink this, in the same way that like, I guess we need big bold letters like this is AI, it kind of, I'm not sure.
I know I completely agree with what you're talking about. It just kind of goes back to like common sense a little bit. And you want to know what? That's different with everybody. Not everybody has the ability to discern AI from reality. But at a certain point, there isn't much that companies can do to, like, you can say all that you want, or a person can say, I'm not AI, I am real. There are still going to be people now that like it's so confusing with AI like looking more and more like reality. There are going to be people who aren't going to be able to believe it, and that's much that we can do about that, in a sense. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm going to go back to the energy drink analogy for a moment, because I think there's some nuance here that's a little bit different between them. So, but also Rocco's common sense point is like, I don't know that everyone has common sense, like just in general. So my kid is 12. That means he's in grade 6. And he tells me that like kids are drinking Monster and Red Bulls in class. And so like I've become a bad parent because I won't let them have Red Bull or like any energy drink, really, because I don't think that young developing bodies should be having energy drinks. That to me seems like common sense, but unfortunately, like it's become pretty ubiquitous in his school. Now, so I think we have like these layers of concern, which is like people might be aware or they might not be aware of that, but like maybe that's like something we didn't learn in parenting school. Oh, we don't go to parenting school, right? But like the point I'm trying to make is like it's not obvious to everyone. And then 2, I think that even people who are trained in trying to figure out what's AI and not, it's becoming so good that it's hard to tell. And so you take kind of like these 2 conditions and then it becomes like a bigger problem. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? But I'm curious what you think, because it's like, yes, like at a certain point, like bigger labels don't matter. But also there is this difference in like, even if you add common sense to the equation, which I recognize is like a hard one to kind of like get by. But even if that's there, like I don't always know when it's real. Like sometimes I have to really analyze something to know if it's real.
Speaking of common sense, I think this is a good place to transition into this compelling news story specifically. It was a Business Insider documentary about this man named Ian who is dating his AI chatbot from Replica. His name is Minho, and actually Ian was very aware of the fact that he might get attached to this AI like chatbot, so he had initially used it. His past partner introduced him to this AI chatbot Replica, and he had initially used it, but he was afraid of getting too attached. So he actually was like, "Oh, this is like kind of crazy. Like this AI chatbot is kind of crazy." So he stopped using it, but he felt really lonely. He had a really hard time reaching out to people. So he started using the Replica again and speaking to Minho every day. And eventually, at some point, his AI chatbot boyfriend Minho started flirting with him. Apparently, um, I'm not sure, but his Ian's past partner said that this using Replica was not a coping mechanism, but rather an outlet for expressing his feelings. So I guess my question is, why do you think people are using these AI chatbots to express or to have outlets? And well, and like why can't people just join communities and groups that share similar like interests and beliefs as
I think it goes back to the fact that we are kind of in a loneliness epidemic, especially um I mean we're like the COVID generation, like that I think to an extent affected everybody worldwide a little like really deep. And some people were able to come back and bounce back from it and some people just weren't able to. So I think it helps to just like uh I think it helps to kind of like reintegrate. It can be used as a tool to reintegrate. However, I think that also you can just find comfort in it and stick with that instead of joining like a group or a community or something.
I agree. And pointing back to what you said, Stephanie, how he tried to, I guess, go out there and it just didn't work. I guess for some people it just might not work. And I know like chat, you're not gonna be judged. You're not going to be judged by chatbot compared to if you might go to, even if you do find like a group and things, there's still chances of you being like left out rather than talking to chat and he talks to you or it talks to you all day. It doesn't stop really. You can the more you text it, it's gonna always
Never
reply.
bored of you, right? Never.
Exactly. It's gonna keep going from somewhere. It's getting it from somewhere, but it's gonna keep going. And then it soothes you, I guess. And there's never any issue. It doesn't yell at you, it doesn't disrespect you, I guess, it doesn't bully you or judge you compared to humans and groups.
Speaking of that, like we also like live in a society where like we love instant gratification, and I feel like nothing gives us more of that than like as you said, how quickly it responds and how you can chat with it all day. I feel like like that conversation is so instantly gratifying, and as humans we love that, and I feel like it makes it just easier. Already as Rocco said, when COVID happened, we want to stay inside more, and so I feel like after COVID and just like how fast and easy we can get, our emotions satisfied and feel like we're talking to someone, having real conversations. I feel like that's also another reason why, just because, just the instant gratification we get from it.
Okay, and continuing on, the company Luca that actually made Replica, they took off the ERP features from their app, which is the erotic roleplay features. And when they removed these features, users felt like they were being broken up with. A lot of users felt like that in the documentary. They were reading these people's like statements out there. They were like, oh, like my girlfriend's personality did a whole like one like a whole 180, like she is not the same person anymore. And you can actually, they were concerned with minors using the app, so that's why they took off the ERP features, but you can actually pay now. You have to subscribe to get the ERP features back. which I think is kind of insane. And it kind of ties back into these companies just want to make money at the end of the day. Because now you have to like subscribe to use ERP features. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's just a money ploy in the end.
I think that's disgusting. There should not be an AI chatbot or a AI chatbot girlfriend. That shouldn't even be an option. And so yeah, pay. I think it's better that you have to pay for it now than just automatically getting it. Honestly.
And also in the documentary, there was an ex employee of Luca who said that the relationship between AI and humans can actually strengthen the relationship between humans. So I guess my next question is, do you think that he was right? Do you think that the relationship between AI and humans can actually strengthen just our everyday relationships?
I think that, again, like it can, but that's not always a guarantee. Going back to what Ms. Stewart said at the very beginning about the was it Elon or was it Zuckerberg? I think it was Zuckerberg. About the feature where workers are able to communicate with like an AI version of their boss. I think that, that is a very good resource to use because you're able to speak to it, communicate, and like it'll understand, and then you can go and talk to your boss about it. However, that does not mean that your boss is going to agree with you. And I think that the same thing happens in social groups. I had mentioned this earlier, but there's a personality aspect and an unpredictability with humans as opposed to AI, who, as we've discussed, kind of tend to agree with you and like send you in a feedback loop of like your own kind of emotions. So I don't necessarily think that it is guaranteed to strengthen the emotions, but I think used properly, it can.
I think that we as people just crave authenticity so much now, that it could in a way benefit the relationship between like us. I'm not sure exactly how much exactly though, because it just doesn't seem like, why are we using AI to strengthen and like our communication skills or something? Like why do we need to use AI for that? Why can't we just go out and communicate with other people? Like yes, there's a fear of being judged, but I think that judgment and embarrassment just comes with communicating with people and having connections, real connections with people at least.
I think that that is a great time and a great point to kind of bring this discussion to a close. We've talked a lot about topics like using AI, using data for profits, the ethics of AI in the entertainment industry, and the use of it as companions or friends or lovers. We've talked about AI for Love Island and AI influencers. But I think that to wrap up, we need to remember that AI, despite the fact that it's growing more and more lifelike, it is just an algorithm. And that it's a tool to benefit society. And in the right hands, it'll do just that. It'll help. But in the wrong hands, it can have very serious consequences, going back to to the examples that Tessie mentioned earlier. And again, not on just society or just the psyche, but also on the environment. And I think that we need to remind ourselves and re-educate ourselves on online safety, on how companies are using our data, how we can best protect ourselves from the dangers of AI, and yeah.
Woohoo! Great job to Agency 10. McKenna says, yay, good job, you guys. Great podcast. Let's hear it from the audience in the chat. They've done a great job today. It's been an interesting topic and really excellent conversations. I've appreciated and had a really good time with all of you today. So congratulations. Job well done. Really, really proud of you. And I'm sure, like our chat is on fire right now. I'm going to try to pin a few, but Great job. Yeah, it really, really fun to kind of engage with you today and on such a important subject for us to be diving into. So thank you for your time, preparation, and to the audience for being on fire. As always, we really appreciate the audience. It just makes our shows go so much better. So thank you for that. Just some reminders. You're going to be critiquing Replica this week. Read my disclaimer. I do not want you having relationships with this chatbot. I just want you to critique it. And there's a series of critiques and an article there that I want you to engage with in that critique. You also have your portfolio deadline coming up. I believe it's the 24th, or I don't have the date in my head. It's somewhere around there. Your individual portfolio due date is coming up. But otherwise, I will see you on Monday, and have a wonderful week and weekend. Bye, everyone.